Now in this video I'm going to upgrade my solid state drive. This is a Dell Latitude E5570 high-spec machine, approximately 10 years old. I have maximized the RAM to 32 gigs and now I want to upgrade the solid state drive. So why would I want to do that? Well, basically it's about read and write speeds. Think about like a superhighway. At the moment it has a dual carriageway, 2 lanes, and with the solid state drive, which I've just purchased, that is now going to upgrade it to a superhighway with 4 lanes in both directions, read and write. Now what I would say is, of all of the upgrades to a laptop or to a computer, upgrading the solid state hard drive is probably the most tangible and most important thing to do. Another analogy would be if you had a Ford Focus or a Ford Fiesta, you take out that engine and you put in a Mustang 2.7 litre, 2.3 turbo diesel engine. So it's the same thing. Bigger the numbers, the bigger the read-write speeds, and in this instance it is 7,200 megabits per second read and write speed. So the bigger the read and write speed, it follows, the more faster the computer. Now I say that with a caveat, and that is if your computer is running slow, or if there are malware, or if the registry is a bit corrupted and so forth, that may impact on the speed. So if you want to really get the best out of it, perhaps wiping the whole system, the whole laptop, reinstalling the operating system, then you will see the full benefits of your upgrade. Let's progress on to opening up the back. Now to do that, we need some tools. Now I don't have any anti-static discharge material, so I'm going to do it without. But for you, I would recommend getting some anti-static mat or something of that nature, but you can try without it. I've done it for several years with no issues. You just need to be careful to ground yourself first and to get rid of that static. Now at the back of the computer you will have a number of screws to remove or to loosen. So when they get to a point on this Latitude E5570, it's not going to pop out, but you can hear a slight little click, which indicates that it's fully loosened. I find the Dell to be very good, well, in previous years, I'm not sure about the current models, in terms of upgrading computers. This would be in comparison to other computers, which I won't name. And from here then you should find a little groove. There we are. And just get a little, as I said, this is for a Dell E5570, but yours might be separate. So just basically prise out, you can hear it, and then gently remove. And I'm using one hand here, so let me just try this. There we are. Taken it off before, and there you have it. So now the next stage is to find that memory. Now here is the open back. Let me just show you. So we have the 32 gigabytes, 32 gigs of RAM. So that's 216 of RAM. So that's maxed RAM. I've upgraded previously this drive to a solid state drive, but the read-write speed is something far less than the 7,200 read-write speed of this crucial memory. No, I haven't said it at the beginning, but you can purchase it. I purchased this at Mr. Memory, and you can also purchase it at Crucial. So the company is Crucial that makes it. You can purchase it direct, so depending on the availability. And how do you get the right memory? Well, you just do a scan for your particular machine and model, and hopefully that will be there. And in this instance, where is the slot to insert? So as you can see there, you can see the grooves of the insertion. And if we go down here, it's not very obvious. There is the groove slot. So what do I need to do? I need to remove my previous hard disk drive. Now, what do I need to do before that? I will need to put the case back on and extract all of my image on my Windows computer, the whole entire contents, onto an external drive, and then copy it onto the new memory. And I need to use a particular piece of software called, well, there's a number of different items there, but I use one particular one, which I will explain in a later video. So the next stage now is for me to extract this, all of my data, my operating system, the whole lot from it, onto a external drive, and then to copy it back on to this drive. Now in this stage, I'm going to basically image my hard disk drive and copy it onto an external drive with sufficient memory. So this has up to 1 terabyte. Usually drives have a minimum, maybe 256 gigabytes of hard disk, up to anything really. In this instance, it's 500 gigs, so I have sufficient space. And as I said previously, I'm going to just basically, I'm going to copy the image of this machine. So I'm taking the whole lot. It's like, think about it like this. You have a table with all of your Christmas dinner laid out, all of the trimmings and turkey and so forth. It's all on top of a tablecloth. I'm simply just taking the whole tablecloth and lifting it off the table. Everything is taken off, and then I just simply put it onto another table magically, where everything is in exactly the same place as it was on the previous table. So that's called imaging. Now, I have a Macrium Reflect software, which is on this. It's a bootable. I've created this external USB as a bootable USB key with the Macrium software. So that's the software basically that will tell the computer to take the dinner from this table and to put it onto this temporary table. And that's basically it. So the first thing I do is I power up the machine. And then for Dell, I need to go into the system startup. I'm pressing F12. Keep pressing that for Dell until you see this little preparing one-time boot pop up. Then wait a few seconds. You can let go of the... And then from there, I'm going to boot into this Macrium Reflect. So what is that? So let me just see there. For me, it is USB storage device. So if I press that, oh, my apologies. It is under USB boot. It is the Jet Flash Transcend 2 gigabytes. Now this is very important that you know which USB, external USB, contains the software to do the work. And in my instance, it's Macrium Reflect. So that is that. Now you can get Macrium Reflect, I understand it, for free also. You can get a bootable version of that for free. I find it as an excellent tool in terms of such work. So then I will press enter on the keyboard, and now it's going to boot into this. And we wait and see that loads up. It just takes a minute maybe or two. So the splash screen has popped up after a minute. And as I said, it is the home edition that I've purchased. But I understand you can get the latest version now might be Macrium Reflect. I'm not sure, but it's bigger than the current version. And here we are inside in the Macrium Reflect software. Now, using Macrium Reflect, when you open it up, you will go to backup. So you will go there, click on backup, and then you're going to be presented with a number of hard disk drives. Now it's very important that you identify which hard disk drive is the one on your computer that you want to image or clone. Image in this instance. Oh no, in this instance it's going to be clone. I'm going to clone it exactly as it is. So how do I do that? Well, just if you want to look on the hard disk drive and see it, so I know that my hard disk drive is 500 gigs, and so I'm happy with that. Now, this is 1 terabyte the one below it, and I know that that is my target disk. So what I do next is I say clone this, which is going to clone this, is going to clone this, and it's going to place it on here. So if I press that, clone this disk, and then I'm going to select a target disk, which is going to be that one, which is represented by this, which is a gigabyte, just under it. I press that, and I can simply press delete existing partition, and then I press next, and then it gives me some preliminary details, a summary. I press finish, and then it pops up with this, and I say yes, that's fine, continue, and away it goes. So now it's working away on cloning the disk onto the external drive. So what does cloning mean? Well, cloning means it takes an exact copy of your hard disk, including all of the particular activation codes and the Windows unique identifiers for that machine. So you only clone one machine. So I know that when I clone this particular machine from the old hard disk drive onto the new one, I'm never going to use the old one again. I'm not going to boot it up anywhere else. It's just a backup. So that's why I am cloning. Imaging is slightly different, and it's not for the purposes of this particular video, but imaging is where you don't necessarily take a clone. You first and foremost do a sysprep, it's called. So that basically turns your computer into an new out-of-box experience. So it's like brand new again. And that is used when you create a brand new image where you install it fully with all of your necessary suitable software. And then you sysprep it. And then you image it. So then you can image it onto the machine. And the benefit of that is that you can put it on multiple different machines, infinite amount of times, provided you have the necessary activation code for Windows. In this instance, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to only clone one machine, which is this machine. And therefore, that's why I'm doing cloning as instead of imaging. Now, again, as I said, that's a basic summary, and I'm hopeful that you understand that. Now, this is taking quite some time because I don't have a USB-C. I have an ordinary USB-A. So that's why it's taking a bit longer, but I can see that it is flashing away there, so it is doing some reading some writing onto the machine. So that might take, from what I can see, quite some time. Now, I've started this in the early morning, and several hours later, almost 12 hours later, it is still not complete. Now, the reason why that is, in writing the clone, is because of, let me just zoom in there, because of this external memory, which is, from experience now, woefully inadequate in terms of write speeds. Now, I didn't look at it when I purchased it, but that is the issue. So this is, if it's going to be this bad in writing, then it's going to be equally, if not worse, in reading back into the computer. Now, the solution is my old faithful. Let me just show you here. My old faithful other external memory. And that essentially has the same memory slot as this. So I've taken it out of an old computer and put it in to this. So it should speed up significantly the process of writing the clone. So we're going to start. Now, in this particular state, so I'm going to transfer the image onto this external drive. Now, this time, I'm going to create an image of it, because this is going to be just a storage location for my hard disk on this computer. And so what I want to do is I just want to create an image, but it's the same principle again. I have the Christmas dinner on the table. I'm literally going to take everything, including license keys, etc., whip it up, put it onto another table, lay it back out exactly as it was before. And to do that, I'm going to do, instead of clone disk, the only difference is image disk. And I'm going to choose a destination location. So I'm going to click in here. I'm going to go to Silver Terabyte. There we go, Macrium images. My home laptop. My staff laptop. And then I press OK. Now I can change the actual image name, and I usually want to put in the date. Put in the date of when it was imaged, but in this instance I'll just let it automatically create it, and I can rechange it at a later stage. So it's going to be something image that MRIMG. Okay, so I'm going to press next, and then I'm going to press finish, and then I will get something pop up. No, it's going straight in, and as you can see, the progress is significantly more than the previous way. Now I just want to go back over the previous way again in terms of clarifying. So the previous way I did a clone. And the clone method is simply if I want the destination disk to be the final disk. So, but in this instance it wasn't. It was just going to be a storage location. And then from the storage location, I'm going to transfer onto the computer again at a later stage, onto the, let me bring it up. We're going to transfer it onto this, which will be the final destination. So in this instance, we're going to do an image, not a clone, but that's neither here nor there for this particular workshop. So that's it. Let's continue. Now I have successfully removed or imaged my original hard disk here, and I've transferred it onto my external SSD drive here. The next stage was for me to remove this old hard disk drive. So I just simply pull this up, obviously unscrew the 4 screws there and all the other screws, and then simply lift up, take out. Next stage was for me to take the new solid state drive and insert it into the computer here. So this is, as I said, for a Latitude 5570, I believe, whatever I said at the start of the video. Now, with all of these updates, you may come across unusual situations, and this is one of the unusual anomalies. As you can see here, there is a screw that you could insert to push down the actual memory, because if you don't, it flips up at a certain angle and just stays there. So that's not the ideal situation. And as you can see with my particular machine, it doesn't have, let me zoom in there, it doesn't have any socket for the screw, something like this. So the workaround for me was simply to get some dental floss or any twine that you have and tie it down to a part of the chassis there. And that was the remedy for me. So the next stage now is to put back on the casing, power it up, open up Macrium, the software that I'm using to transfer the image from here onto this machine here. And that'll be the next stage. So now I'm going to power up my machine and I'm going to press F12. Immediately after powering up, you can see the power button there on. And again, we're using, for this machine, it's a 5570. So we keep holding that down until we see the power should pop up any second now. And there we are. So it's powered up. Because the old disk drive has been removed, it attempted to power into that unit, but since we're pressing F12 consistently, it brings us in here. Now, just an update. I previously, to capture the image, I used an old version of Macrium Reflect on this. Now, the only difficulty with this old version is that when I am deploying the image, placing it back onto the laptop, it doesn't have the capacity, the functionality to extend out the drive to the full hard disk on the target machine. In other words, thinking about it again like the Christmas table, so I have taken off the tablecloth with all of the Christmas dinner, the roast, the peas, the broccoli, the sprouts, everything is taken off, whipped off, and contained within the tablecloth. I've now put it onto another table, i.e. the new disk. So that's my new table. So I've taken it off this table, my Christmas dinner, and I'm putting it onto this. Now it so happens that they are exactly the same size. So that's perfect. If you have the target table for the dinner to be bigger than the table that you're taking it from, then you will need to address that by stating to the software, I want to place the table, the dinner entirely on the new disk. I want to fill up the full table. And the previous Macrium Reflect couldn't do that, but now I have a new updated Macrium Reflect which should do that, and that is stored here in the verbatim store. And if I go down there and press enter, and we go straight. Now, we are here again in Macrium Reflect, but this is version 8. And it's slightly different look and feel, but nonetheless, it's the same principle. So what I'm going to do now, as I said, is I'm going to take my image, which I have stored here. I'm going to take a copy of it, and I'm going to place it onto the new hard disk here. The new hard disk, solid state disk, which is stored, which is now installed here into my laptop. So what I do is, again, it's dependent on which software you're using. I'm using Macrium Reflect, but there may be others out there. So we press on image. Then we press on browse for an image. And we go to that external disk there. So that is called Silver Terabyte. And we go to Macrium Images. And then we go to my STAP laptop. So this is my particular machine here. And it's important to name them. Now, as you can see here, this is not named a particular way. It's just a default auto-generated name. The only way I can identify it is because of the date. So I know today is the 22nd. And I made this yesterday. And as you can see, it's nice to have it renamed, something like this, the date that you've created it, what target machine it's going to be, or group of machines, and so on and so forth. And as well as that, if you're going to create for multiple different machines, you need to have it sysprepped. And in that instance, you will put at the end of it, sysprepped. So then you'll know what to do with that. You need to put back in the activation codes for Windows and all of the rest of your software. In this instance, I'm not doing that because I'm putting it back in to the machine where it came out of. So there's no need to change that because Windows will know that it is this particular motherboard and everything is hunky-dory. That out of the way, let's double click on this. And now so that's this is the source image here, which is on this. And where are we going to put it? Well, we're going to need to find out where we're going to put it. So we're going to press restore first of all. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to choose select a disk. So it gives you a number of options. There's one, there's two. And you need to be very careful here now as to which one to choose. So Silver Terabyte, because of my naming conventions, I've named this to be Silver Terabyte. And as a general tip, for any of these external memory cards or disks, I would recommend that you change the name to what it looks like. So black, small, 2 GB, for instance. Anyway. Here we have the other disk here, which is Macrium, which is this one. And I'm not going to put it onto that. So the other third one here, as you can see, it's grayed out because there has never been any image or information on it. The only reason I know that it is the disk is because of the size. 465, which is the equivalent of my 500 gigs. Now, that's just an anomaly there that some people might find a bit strange. How come it's 500 gigabytes on the box, but it's 465 when reading? You'll always get a little bit of allocated space on the disk when it's in the manufacturer. You don't need to worry about that. It's almost a couple of megabytes less than the actual size as advertised. So we click on that, and there we are, there it's there. And then from there, we press next. And let me just go back here to see, first of all, let me undo that. Let me click on copy partitions. Let's see how that works. Shrink or extend, there we go. So this is the option inside in Macrium 8. I just press copy partitions, shrink or extend to fill the target disk. Now that is important. Why? Because if I did with the previous Macrium version, it would just put in the exact partition and the exact length. In other words, there may have been an element of unallocated space on your target disk, and that would be a waste of space. Be a waste. What would that be like? That would be like building a bungalow when you have the likes of you have up to the sky 12 stories planning permission, but you're not using the 12 stories, you're just putting in a bungalow. That's the same principle. So for here, I'm extending out my new target image onto my new disk, and if I have additional space, then it's going to extend out to fill the full disk. So I press that, there we are. So it's filled the full disk as I wanted it to be, and then I press next. And then I press finish, and as Nigella Lawson would say, we let the cooking begin. So as you can see, it's going much faster now than the previous disk that I had. That was atrocious yesterday. I think the read-write speed was, I don't know what it was, but it must have been just very small in size. And now I've transferred it onto this, and it took an hour to copy the image onto this disk. As you can see, it's blinking here. And now it should take approximately an hour to put onto the new disk, which is here. And again, what's the whole reason why I'm doing this? Well, the reason why I'm doing it is because the disk that I took out here, which is a solid state drive, but it's one of the earliest ones using the old method of connectors there, it still wasn't fast. So this was like a dual carriageway. And the previous disk that came originally with the computer was the RAID, the little needle on top. And again, that's a certain speed. So that's like the needle on top is like if I was to consider it like a road, that would be like just a national route. Road going one way, road going another way, speed 100 kilometers an hour. Then I upgraded, as I said, to the solid state drive, which put it into same thing, dual carriageway, two roads on both sides, and limit, let's say 120 kilometers an hour. Still not suitable to my liking. And now I've upgraded that to the solid state with 720 megabits per second read-write speeds or thereabout. In other words, now we're moving up to the superhighway of 4 lanes on each carriageway going opposite directions, and the speed limit now has been upgraded to, I don't know, 150 kilometers an hour. In other words, the speed of this computer now, which is approximately 10 years old, is going to speed up significantly. And why am I doing that? Well, I'm not a gamer, but I am using intensive resource software, most notably voice recognition software. And I have noticed that the greater the efficiency of the platform or the computer, the faster and more efficient the software and the more accurate the software. For those of you out there that like their gaming, it's also good to have maximum resources and great machines and super duper highways to speed up the process and prevent lagging and so forth. On a side note, it was my dream to use that, those flight simulator games. I really enjoyed those. Maybe one day I might get around to doing it again, especially with AI now and the capacity to tell me how to turn on the flight, how to switch it on, how to taxi, how to take off. It's something for me to consider if I retire. So let's progress on here now and let this cook away, and that might take again about an hour or two. Not as much as yesterday, but still there or thereabout. So that is completed in 59 minutes. Now let's go in here and press OK and press close. And then we go down here, turn it off and shut down. We just shut it down and then power it back up. Wait till the power goes off completely, and then press it again, and then wait and see. You don't need to press F12 anymore, because we're going to boot now directly into Windows. So it's looking now for the boot options, and the base boot option is Windows 10, the operating system. And we'll see if it finds that. Now, as I said, this is the first boot, so there may be something pop up initially. It may be the case that we have to remove the Macrium disk first, but we wait and see. Something is happening. You can see the circular. No, it's booting back into Macrium Reflect, which is what I don't want. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just wait till that happens, and then we're going to unplug the two items. We're going to unplug the image. Well, we don't necessarily need to do that, but the main one we need to do is to plug out the bootable key, which boots into Macrium Reflect. Let's give it a few seconds to load up, and we'll just shut down again. Now we're going to power up again. We've removed the external image drive, and also we've removed the bootable disk, the Macrium. So now let's power it up again and give it a few seconds. And there we are, there's the Dell splash screen. It's now searching for the bootable devices, and previously it found the default external. So now the only bootable device is the one on the specific computer. And there we are, taking it a few seconds. There we are, so it's opened up and it is in much more faster. I've noticed the speed has increased significantly, especially with those applications. So that is the end of this video tutorial on how to upgrade your SSD drive to improve the speed of your computer. As I said, this computer is about 10 years old, and now it's given a new lease of life. So for any computer out there, it may be beneficial for you to just review the spec of your machine, what the maximum solid state drive can be and what the maximum RAM can be. These are the two aspects that can significantly improve performance, as well obviously as the processor. And thank you for watching.